Hi, my name is Alana Hill. My website is themissengineerway.com. That is DADMS engineerway.com.
Fantastic. That way we can use the clip and whatever, promote stuff. So as I said, kind of before we started recording, my hope today is just to have a short conversation to showcase the really important work that you do and how what you do may be different from other people, because even within the diversity topic or niche or silo or whatever, we're all very different and we all do very, very different work. Can you kick us off with a little bit about yourself and how you started doing what you do?
Well, I started doing what I do because it really is a passion in my heart. It was something that I had to walk. As an African American female engineer, I don't think I was afforded a day where diversity and inclusion wasn't a topic. And so, of course, when you're immersed in something like that, you begin to research it. You surround yourself with subject matter experts. You then begin to put those types of initiatives in place and find yourself leading that change. And that was really the big pivot for me when it stopped being something that I watched and started being something that I actively engaged in and actively created. So, having stepped out within oil and gas to create opportunities for other minorities, that was, my first opportunity to kind of live diversity and inclusion. Prior to that, too, going to a predominantly white college, being one of the founding members of the NAACP on that campus. So it's something that, again, when I look at, I can't really tell you the starting point, but it is something that I've walked, researched, and have advocated for all of my adult life, I know.
It's interesting. I get asked, I'm assuming you do too, is what was the starting point or why did you start doing what you're doing? And my answer is always, I have always been this kid.
Yeah.
Right? What is going on? This doesn't make any sense. Why is this happening? Well, that's hypocritical. I've always been this kid, right? So you just eventually figure out how to monetize it.
Yeah.
Excellent. There's a, excuse me, there's a new concept that I'm toying with, and I want to run it by you and see what you think about it. So the concept of diversity dividends. So we know that when doing organizational corporate work, everything is always about the bottom line and profits, etc. But if I say diversity dividend for you in your experience in your work, can you talk a little bit about what might be the differentiation between the investment, actions, and the return of a diversity dividend?
I think that really boils down to, in my line of work, to the innovation and creativity you get when you cast a broader net to get more voices at the table. We've talked for years, decades actually, about the business case for diversity, and that business case includes the ROI, which is increase innovation, increase relations in the marketplace, and so it creates for itself a value added daily that you can tangibly see with innovation coming out of your groups.
Absolutely. That's a great take on it. That one of the things that originally got me started thinking about how this diversity work Venn diagram overlays with employment, job descriptions, recruitment, retention, and building those more creative voiced teams is the asterisk other duties assigned. And one of the pieces I think is interesting about other duties assigned is that they're usually not measurable, nor is someone evaluated on the other duties assigned. But more importantly, the identities, visible or possibly invisible identities we bring to that team ends up creating a space where you're like the president of the affinity group, whether it's official or not. Yeah. What does asterisk other duties assigned mean to you, or how does it apply to your experience?
I think, and I'll pause on the affinity group that you were mentioning, because of course, it's which silo, which channel,
right.
But that does typically happen if there is somebody who advocates for diversity and inclusion in their organization. They're the one that either gets tapped on the shoulder or upon their own initiative heads that up, and that becomes additional value added to the organization above and beyond their work duties. I was an engineer and I was a project manager. So creating and leading projects was certainly my first priority for the organization, but the additional value added of being able to recruit people of color, being able to help retain people of color, to help to create an atmosphere that was welcoming and encouraging to others, regardless of whether or not that was in my job description, ended up being to the advantage of the organization.
Absolutely. We talked a little bit up front about what you consider your strongest area and why, as well as kind of your favorite topics. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you do in your work and what you feel your specialty is?
Well, I guess my work, again, leading primarily from my own background, is really helping bridge the gap in the technical space. We're still trailing far behind in a lot of the technical communities. When you look at, the types of initiatives that Google's put forth, for example, or some of the other Silicon Valley organizations that are trying to bridge the gap for diversity and inclusion, realizing that minorities have been late to the technology game because of a variety of reasons, but knowing that there's still lots of work to be done to bridge the gap with women in technology and science, as well as underrepresented minorities. So because of having worked so much in the engineering and technical space, I see the need there and continue to work to help advocate for change in that area. So my favorite area, my strongest area, is certainly helping to bridge the gap in technology. We have, women that are still severely underrepresented in engineering. A lot of the women engineering programs are still trying to bring forth women into engineering. There are programs in our community like Women Code or Black Women Code, as we look at the intersectionality of different groups still being underrepresented. So certainly from my own personal experience and my own passion, I feel that I certainly gravitate towards those areas.
Great. Now, I also asked some fun questions.
Okay.
One of them is an irrational fear or something that people don't know about you. And I'm not going to lie, I was stunned at your answer. According to your survey that you filled out, you can drive an 18-wheeler?
I can.
How did that happen? And I'd like to point out you put the qualifier in that you can do it really well, not just drive one, but like really well.
Yeah, not just grinding gears, although, yeah, there's some gear grinding involved in the 18-wheeler driving, but, not very well-known fact, I was actually one of the best backers, so it takes an interesting reverse logic in your mind to reverse an 18-wheeler to get the trailer to go where you want to go, and I surprisingly excelled at that.
Is this part of being an engineer or just a, skill?
Well, so I had to learn it as part of being an engineer. It was a requirement to be a field engineer and to lead engineers and technicians in the workplace, is to understand exactly what they did from a Department of Transportation regulations.
Oh, that's cool.
And then, of course, there's really the sad reality that if for some reason a driver went down, you could pick up the slack and drive a frac truck, if you needed to. So, there was certainly, a business reason for it. But at the end of the day, I got to learn a fun skill. I got to freak out an old man in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That was fun. And it becomes a little factoid. I forgot though, because it's no longer a not well-known fact because I put it in my bio a couple years ago as a fun fact about me. Probably a not well-known fact is that I love to ride horses. I don't know how unknown that is as well. I don't know. I spend too much time on social media, so I don't think that any of my fun
Not
facts.
a lot of unknown ones. That's hysterical. What have you changed your mind about lately? Any subject?
I've changed my mind about the number, so quantity of white diversity advocates that we have. They've been silenced behind the noise of the past year and a half, couple of years, I think in certainly social media conversation and in news media coverage. But I'm always encouraged when I'm reminded that they do exist. It goes back to the history of the NAACP. That organization was not created by African Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And so the progress that we've made, not just in civil rights, but when we look at diversity and inclusion as a whole, it includes women, men, people of color, white people. And so it's important to keep changing my mind, and it's something that has to keep happening because I have to keep countering the message that I keep hearing. I recently had an experience in a parking lot where my assumption was that this guy's anger was obviously racially motivated. It very well may not have been. He was just a miserable SOB. But so it's being reminded that the source of tension and the source of everything that's going on isn't always that white people are out to get people of color. Not all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw your post about the parking lot. And what is particularly interesting is that the responsibility it takes for, am I seeing this through my lens because I've had this pile-up experience that of course this is what it's about. I have a really good friend who is being accused of being homophobic at work. And what's fascinating is the claim is 4 years old. They've been working together for 4 years. 4 years ago, my friend evidently glared at somebody, and it must have been because they're homophobic. And what's interesting is that like sexual orientation, sexual identity, whatever, doesn't, partners, relationship status, none of that comes up at work. And until the claim, my friend had no idea that this person identified as not heterosexual. Probably did glare, but it's because they're really bad at their job and they create a lot of drama at work. It has nothing to do with whatever's happening at home. Which is fascinating, right? Because you can like play that like, oh, you're doing it because of this. Like, no, actually, you're just really annoying, right? Or in your parking lot case, they were wrong because they stole your parking spot.
Yeah, and I'm sure they would have done that to anybody. I mean, I think his response would have been that to anybody. Flipping that back, though, what I was painfully aware of was that had my husband or son responded in any other way than we had, they would have been villainized. And that was a painful reminder that even in a typical, especially holiday time, conflict arising over a parking lot, it seems to be the worst possible time we should be enjoying the joy of the season. We were very mindful of how we responded because of how that would have been perceived or misperceived. And that puts an incredible amount of responsibility. My son's only 15, and so he's very aware. As a matter of fact, he was the one that was even saying, Mama, I can't do X or Y because obviously those would be foolish things to do. But it would certainly be a much bigger deal.
Yeah. And what I love about that question and really your answer is you have to constantly change your mind by constantly reflecting about where your mind is pretty set. And your mind is pretty set because those are your lived experiences and that's reality, right? And you have to balance between all of those at once. So thank you. What do you absolutely know?
What do I absolutely know? I absolutely know that we're going to continue to make progress. I absolutely know that the noise of today won't hinder the solution for tomorrow. I absolutely know that because we have a great network of diversity and inclusion advocates, champions, specialists, researchers, that we are going to make the progress that we're moving forward. And that's very encouraging to me, that I know that it's going to continue to improve. It's going to continue to get better.
Fantastic. What a great answer. Okay, now it's the fun ones. So I have icebreaker cards that are 3 different levels of questions. So super easy, kind of intermediate, and a little deeper. So you have to pick 3 numbers, 1 through 50. And I'm going to ask you the random questions based on the icebreaker cards.
Okay.
What's first number?
23.
23 is an intermediate one. What are some of your hidden talents and abilities? You've already mentioned 1 at least.
I was just working on this. My hidden talents or abilities. Well, I can't sing. That's unfortunate. They're not hidden. Um,
That's kind of cool. Maybe one of your hidden abilities is that you're completely transparent and open.
I'm like see-through. I mean, and certainly when it comes to, if I have a gift or a talent, I'm so intent and insistent on using it because we know that if we don't use it, we lose it. So one hidden talent might be hablo poquito español, but I need to improve on that. So I'm too highly critical of my Spanish skills to even call it a Spanish skill. So see, there's an issue there. We'll work on that
You're
later.
perfect. Okay, great. Okay, second number.
6.
6, easy. Name the most beautiful place to which you've been.
The most beautiful place to which I've been's got to be Jamaica. And I have a bias in that answer. That's the land of my mother's birth. And so not only is it just aesthetically beautiful, it brings back beautiful, fond memories for me. So
Kingston, Montego Bay, Negril.
Negril's my favorite. My mother was born in Kingston, and I've yet to make it there. So I've got to get to Kingston.
I really like Negril. It's one of my favorites. I actually do a service project / New Year's vacation there as often as possible.
Oh.
I know. Who knew? Okay, great. One more number.
16.
16 is intermediate. What is the most meaningful place you've been? You answered that one too. Good job. Unless it's different.
Ooh, Paris.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Paris has somehow become so entwined in my life story. And I love the city so much. I even decorated my kitchen with a Parisian theme. But lots of pivotal life events happen for me in Paris, and it's the city of love. So.
Oh, that's cool. I'm hoping to go there for my birthday. I've never been.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share on our little fun interview thing?
I guess I just want to underscore a point that you were saying as we were talking about how many different things that each and every diversity and inclusion speaker, consultant, contributor has. I mean, we have different perspectives. We have different, even different goals when we're working with an organization. And so that in and of itself brings some diversity, of course, into diversity and inclusion, which is, ironically, the whole point. Diverse means different. So the fact that we can add variety and flavor to the field is an advantage to every organization that is looking for diversity and inclusion champions.
Excellent. And if people wanted to find you, where would they go? They
could find me online at my website, which is themissengineerway.com. That is THEMSengineerway.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.